All right, gang, we are back today with a video that I'm really excited to share. We're going to learn how to do something that I had no idea was even possible. By the end of this video, you're going to be able to deploy a Google Colab online using just text to code with ChatGPT. And this is really just a stepping stone for building more advanced AI apps. And I think this is the type of skill set that's going to be very, very helpful in the coming years as AI continues to dominate many industries out there. It can definitely enhance your marketability in the job market, and I hope it'll be fun as well. So there's just a couple steps here in this video. We're going to go through first creating a very simple app online, and then I'm going to give you some ideas on how to expand upon that and get the custom chatbot from my recent video up online, and then some feedback on how to really get any of your scripts that you're working on online. The technologies we're going to cover obviously is Google Colab and ChatGPT. We're going to look at Ngrok, which is a tool that allows developers to easily run their code online, and Streamlit, which is a really cool open source app framework that a lot of machine learning experts are using to build web apps. And if none of that made any sense to you, if you haven't heard those words before, that's not a problem. You should still be able to follow along. However, there are some resources that I'll link to in the description. There is my Google Colab Quick Start video that gives you a little more background on how to use Google Colab. And I also have a video on building a custom chatbot that we're going to be referencing here in this video. Really, by the end of it, you'll be learning how to rapidly prototype your creations, and you'll just get the satisfaction of seeing your work online and being able to share it with friends. So those are some major benefits of sticking with me through the next couple minutes. Let's jump right in. Here is the prompt that we'll use to create this code. And I want to just walk you through how I created this prompt. I simply started with a conversation with ChatGPT, and I asked it, how can I get a Google Colab running online so I can show somebody something, so I can test it out a little bit. And ChatGPT let me know of these stringing together these other technologies in order to do that. So that led me to the initial prompt, which was really just the first half of this, which was just, can you give me step-by-step code to run a Streamlit app in Google Colab using Ngrok? I started there. I ran into some errors, which all coding is bug fixing, basically. So if you're very new to coding, get used to seeing errors and feeding those back into ChatGPT for feedback on how to fix those errors. So after a few trial and error, I added the second sentence: please do not use !pip install for Ngrok. Use this other code, ! we get to install a version of Ngrok you're familiar with. If none of that made any sense to you, don't worry about it. Just type that in. But for those who want to know why that's there, that is really helpful, because the version of Ngrok that ChatGPT knew about was a couple years old, and a lot of the errors that I was running into were related to the fact that it was referencing an older version than the current version. So this is a way to make sure that the code that ChatGPT is creating, it is familiar with those libraries, and you can get past a lot of different bugs by using that simple trick. So let's jump over here to ChatGPT and just let me show you how this all worked out. So this is the prompt that I just showed you. You want to run this on GPT-4. I just reran this to make sure it was working well. And this generates all of the code that you're going to need. It's really cool that it shows you, it kind of walks through, each step. If you want to learn a little bit more about this, every time I do this, I'm learning a little bit more about code, which is making everything a lot easier. There are other online places to go to learn a lot more about Python. All of that is in my Quick Start video, Google Colab Quick Start video. So here you go. It creates everything, and it tells you some notes on each script. So now what you want to do is go over to Google Colab. So colab.research.google.com, or just Google for Google Colab, and you're going to land on a page like this. All Google Colab is an environment that you can run Python without setting it up on your own computer, which is a pretty steep learning curve if you've never coded anything before. This is a very great way to get started, and it's a great way, you know, if you get very serious, you can connect to some really powerful machines here as well. So all you want to do once you're here, file, new notebook. It's going to create a new notebook just like this with nothing in it. And you're going to copy and paste new code blocks, you know, like this. Copy and paste the code from here. So I'll do a couple of these for you. So we copy this right in here. You know, copy this in here, and very quickly you're going to get something like this. This is all of it, and this is in my Patreon. This is a working version of this. If you get stuck, you know, for just a couple bucks, you can support the channel and get access to this and a bunch of other Google Collabs and cheat sheets that I have in there. But anyway, this is what you should be looking at, and this is basically a very simple web app. Once you run all of this, it's important you're going to need to install your Ngrok auth token, which you just go to ngrok.com, log in, and create a token there. Pop that in here. You're going to need that to run this. But fairly quickly, you should be able to get something that looks just like this. It's a very simple app. It doesn't do anything, but you've built a pretty powerful skill here in the fact that you, from just text, were able to create a Google Colab that runs a web app online. So from here, there is a lot of different directions you can go. I want to jump back in here and show you. Here's another prompt. You know, there's a high likelihood you're going to run into some errors. That's what all coding is. And so copy and paste those errors back into ChatGPT in order to fix those. After a lot of different iteration, I came up with this second prompt that might be helpful to you, where you're really outlining to ChatGPT exactly what you want the code to do. So this might be helpful to look at. And this is something to just think about as you get more advanced in this text-to-code space, and you want to create more complex things. It helps a lot to really outline step by step what your code needs to do so that the AI can have some sort of a framework. You'll get a much better result when you can outline things for it, and it doesn't have to do all the thinking, you know, based on one sentence there. So I wanted to share that with you. And again, just iterate through. If you do run into errors, don't worry about it. Copy and paste those back into ChatGPT. Work through those. Again, I have a working version of this in my Patreon. If you get really stuck, you can just jump in there and figure it out. And here's a couple other things. It might be helpful to restart your runtime in Google Colab. There's more about that in my Colab Quick Start. So that is just stopping that server and restarting it, because sometimes different things get loaded and there's some conflicts in the back end that you can't quite tell what's going on. Another thing is with Ngrok, you might have launched one of your tunnels, I believe they call it, and you may need to go in there and clear those out and shut those down. That can be an error that you run into if things are just seeming really weird. So those are just a couple tips for you. Again, this is what your app should look like. Very simple app, but very powerful skills that you've built. Next, you can just think about any sort of script that you want to create, and anything you have working, copying and pasting that back into your conversation with ChatGPT, the same conversation that you used to create this initial app, and say, hey, you know, can you please rewrite this code in order to work with, you know, this new script that you're loading in. So that's exactly what I did with the script that we created in my recent video, how to build a custom chatbot trained on your FAQ. I ran that through and was able to come up with something that looks like this. This is the FAQ bot that's running on Streamlit. So this was really what I was trying to get to, is being able to pull that chat bot out of Google Colab and have a link that I could show people and have people use this chatbot. So this is what I came up with. I'll show you the code for that here. So again, I took a working Google Colab that was from my recent video on how to build a chatbot. I copied and pasted that back into a chat just like this, and it cranked out all of this code, and I just copied and pasted this back in. You'll remember from that recent video that it knew we needed to install OpenAI as a library. This should look familiar from the recent code that we just created. And then this is the web app that is much different. This is now the chatbot web app. And again, you can update this context on any of your own FAQs, any of your own knowledge that you want the chatbot to reference. So you can see here how it looks much different from just the simple web app, which is this. So there you go. The rest of this should look fairly familiar. This is all the process that it goes through. You still need your Ngrok auth token here. But yeah, that was how I was able to get my custom chatbot online in a way that I could test it out, share it with friends, etc. And just there's a ton you can do with this. So think about other different scripts you can make. Ask ChatGPT about other simple scripts that might be helpful. Anytime throughout your day, I'm always thinking about how can ChatGPT help me with this, or how can ChatGPT help me create code that would help with this. And in that way, recently I had a long PDF that I wanted to chop up into much shorter PDFs. So I asked it, hey, can you create a Google Colab script to chop this PDF up into all these different sections? Sure enough, kicked out the code. I was able to upload the PDF and on to my next thing. So this can be really helpful. Something to think about is due to Google Colab's runtime restrictions, those apps are only going to run while Google Colab is running. I believe I know there's a paid version of Google Colab, but I think you can keep that running in the background if you want to keep these apps up and running for longer periods of time. But this is really more meant to share it with friends, to prototype and to test it. It's not necessarily a process that is meant to keep an app up and running indefinitely. That's something I hope to cover in a future video, but this is a stepping stone to getting there. I appreciate you watching. Please feel free to like, subscribe, and comment. It really helps me as I'm getting this channel off the ground. I hope you got some value out of this. Again, I have a cheat sheet of all of this, including the prompts, in my Patreon. It really helps me support this channel. I've got 2 of the working collabs in there from this video. I've got a bunch of others from all my other videos. And there's also some one-on-one coaching options in there as well if you want to chat with me about anything that you're working on. But thanks a ton for watching, and I will see you in the next video.